Hey everybody, it's John Hope Bryant. I'm live from Oslo, Norway. I'm going to make this one a little quieter than normal because it's the middle of the night here and I don't want to wake up my host. And I just wanted to sort of share with you where I am at before I leave because I'm going to be leaving in the next couple of days. So I'm sending you love from Norway. It's John Hope Bryant, founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Operation Hope, co-founder of Global Dignity, with the Crown Prince of Norway, the future king here, and Professor Pekka Himanen of Finland. And we had a bunch of country co-chairs here, country chairs from about 50 countries. Well, we had about 20 here, but 50 countries are co-chairs of Global Dignity around the world. A new language for a new time, for a new generation. As they say in South Africa, Ubuntu, I am me because you are you. We are all in this thing together. And I want to talk to you very quickly. I'm the author. For those of you who don't know who I am, I gave you my credentials about Operation Hope and Global Dignity. I've authored a book called Love Leadership, The New Way of Leading a Fear-Based World. Authored another best-selling book called How the Poor Can Save Capitalism. You can pick those up online or wherever. You can go online and check out Global Dignity. I encourage you to do so. Get involved wherever you are. Go online and check out Operation Hope. Okay, let's get into this. I'm going to make this quick. Again, I'm in Oslo, Norway, which is a Nordic country. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Norway. I'm going to talk about extremism from a different take and talk about Dr. King's last unfinished dream. Thanks everybody who's signing on from wherever you are and around the world. I'll either answer your comments now or I'll do it when I'm offline. Pretty funny. I was actually doing a video on the wrong channel. So for anybody who saw that, I screwed up. Okay, so at least you know I'm doing this myself. So Norway was created formally in the 800s. So like I think it was 817, not 1800s, 817, year 817. It's either 817 or 871. But in the 800s it was created. It's been around 1200 years. Before that, there was indigenous people that were here. The mainstream population, Caucasian population, moved in the 800s. There's been 1,200 years of a continuous monarchy. There's been 65 kings in all that time. It's a peaceful nation. It is one of the top, I think it's top 5 wealthiest per capita income in the world. They are the largest producer of oil outside of the Middle East nations. They use their wealth for good. They are a big donor in Africa. They are a big helper of people who are poor and struggling around the world. They try to invest in things that don't destroy the environment. They're not perfect, right? But it really is a model nation, really, for doing well and doing good. Their major industries are oil and some minerals. They've got some other industries that support that, but that a quarter of their income comes from petroleum, and they invest responsibly. Now, some interesting statistics about this country. They had 22 murders last year. The whole country. That's crazy, right? I mean, that's really inspiring. They had, 4 million plus people had 22 murders last year, and half of those were domestic disputes, and they were not involving a gun. So while you can have a gun here, and most people here have a gun to hunt, right? You have to have a permit for it. If you want to have another kind of a gun, a handgun, you have to have a permit in a shooting club. You cannot have a gun on the street. You cannot have a concealed weapon out in the public. You cannot have an assault rifle. All that stuff is banned. So they do allow freedom with ownership of guns, but they do it in a very controlled manner, and they have a culture of responsibility here. And they've had 22 total murders last year. Now, let me put that into context. I can't say the city because it doesn't sound like I'm beating up on them. There's an American city that I know that had 31 murders in the first 2 months. Probably in any American city, but this particular city had 31 murders in the first 2 months of this year. This country, the whole country has had 22 murders in the whole year of 2015. So today there was a tragic incident, weren't murders, but 14 people were killed in a helicopter accident here in Norway. And you think about it, that's 2/3 of all the murders they had last year. So they really are doing something right here, and I try to take the best of where I am and try to incorporate it into where I'm going with my life and my movement and my work, and I try to learn wherever I am. I've been to somewhere around 100 countries, and I'm going to try as I go around the world to take you with me if you think that this is a good idea, and sort of expose you to the good, the bad, the ugly of where I happen to be next. The taxi cab driver who drove me here is from his brother from Ghana, who drove me to the house tonight. I asked him about how are race relations here. He said, it's not perfect. There are some bad people, but overwhelmingly people are good and decent, and don't give him any drama at all. In fact, he's married to a Norwegian. It's a pretty cool place, and I've been here 8 times or so, and every time I come I love it more. Okay. I'm going to drive on a racetrack tomorrow now that I'm finished with my work. See a lot of comments and questions. Let me now go to the second topic, and then so I want to get through this and see if I can get through some comments. Extremism. So I'm sure you think I'm going to talk about ISIS and all that stuff, and I'm going to do a video on ISIS because ISIS is nothing more than an illegal criminal enterprise. It is not Islamic extremism. It is not a religious anything. It is not proper anything. It is a gang that has basically done a software upgrade on the mafia, and they only go to places that have wealth and resources, and they rob, pillage, and post. I'm gonna do a whole video on that, but that's bad capitalism, and that's bad, and that's horrible extremism, right? You can also find another form of extremism. You can find an extremism for good. And so Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. got the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 here in Norway, December 10th, 1964. My mentor, Ambassador Andrew Young, and others came with Dr. King here to pick up that award on behalf of all struggling people and African Americans and others, and really represented us extraordinarily well at that time. Well, there was something else happening. I spoke at the Nobel Peace Center yesterday at a ceremony, and I texted Bernice King that I told her I was here and talked about her father. But I talked about what happened a year before that, April 1963, where Dr. King, who's known for the I Have a Dream speech, actually wrote something called Letter from a Birmingham Jail. If you've never read that, you need to stop your life, whatever you're doing, read the most important thing I think he ever produced, which is Letter from a Birmingham Jail. And 8 ministers, Caucasian ministers, approached Dr. King and said he was an extremist and that he needed to get out of Birmingham, Alabama, and he was bad news and all this kind of stuff. And so as they were talking about extremism, I went a different way in suggesting that Norwegians are now extremists for good. The Crown Prince here, an extremist for good, that they are using their resources and their wealth and their energies for good, and they can do more. Don't sit on the sidelines. The way the bad guy wins is when the good guy and a good woman sits on their hands and does nothing. So I want them to continue to do more good in the world, open more doors, help more people. As they do better, they should do more, right? And they received that very well. Let me read to you what Dr. King said in 1963, Letter from a Birmingham Jail. It's an excerpt. But though I was initially disappointed at being categorized as an extremist, as I continued to think about the matter, I gradually gained a measure of satisfaction from the label. Was not Jesus an extremist for love? Was not Amos an extremist for justice? Was not Martin Luther, for which Dr. King was named after, not an extremist for the Drum Major Instinct? So the question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists will we be? Will we be extremists for hate or for love? Will we be extremists for the preservation of injustice or for the extension of justice? So King went on and expressed general frustration with both white moderates and certain, quote, opposing forces in the Negro community. He meant black people. And here's what he said. He wrote that white moderates, including clergymen, the 8 that wrote him this letter as an example, posed a challenge comparable to that of white supremacists, in the sense that shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. King asserted that the white church needed to take a principled stand or risk being dismissed as an irrelevant social club. Regarding the black community, King wrote that we need not follow the, quote, do-nothingism, or the complacent, nor the hatred and despair of the black nationalists. This was 1963, when he was being challenged and hemmed in on all sides by young people who said he wasn't moving fast enough, black nationalists who said that all this was a lie and he never achieved anything. Of course, he transformed America, the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, and what people don't know about is the Open Housing Act of 1970, which was passed in the backdrop of his assassination. And people don't know that he passed an economic bill, which was the Open Housing Act, which Johnson passed in honor of his assassination, or in recognition of his assassination, trying to do one more good thing to recognize his leadership. So that was King in '63. He was being jailed, and a year later he got the Nobel Peace Prize. And but when he came here, blacks didn't have the right to go where they want, vote, or do anything else. But he didn't stop that from empowering his positive action, right? So his last piece of unfinished work in 1968 was the Poor People's Campaign. And so here's what Dr. King said. I'm here to redeem the soul of America from the triple evils of war, racism, and poverty. He didn't say I'm here to save black people, okay? He thought that helping African Americans was helping America. Like, you can take no pleasure from the fact that there's a hole in my end of our boat. We're all in this thing together. So he thought that standing up for African Americans was standing up for the best of the American Constitution, is what the American Constitution said it wanted to do, the Bill of Rights. And he thought that America had to live up to its standard. And he forced us to sort of to either operationalize that or admit that America lied. And America stepped up to that challenge. Because he framed it in an aspirational way, and he made his dream big enough for everybody to fit into it. And he was really the only black leader talking to white America. Most black leaders were talking to black folks about our pain and our anger, our understandable pain and our anger, by the way. But he was aspirational. And his last movement, he dealt with racism, he dealt with war, Vietnam War, and then he dealt with poverty. He pivoted in 1968, April 68, with the Poor People's Campaign. There's more poor whites, by the way, in America than poor anybody else, little known fact. And Dr. King said this: you cannot legislate goodness, and you cannot pass a law to force someone to respect you. The only way to social justice in a capitalist country is economics and ownership. That was Dr. King in 1968. Little known statistic about his sort of approach on economics. And so he was on his way to Washington with the Poor People's Campaign, his last movement. By the way, he had 70 employees and a $500,000 operating budget, $600,000. And he changed the world. He did it without firing a shot, just like they do here in Norway, without firing a shot. Changed everything with a dream big enough for everybody and action. He was as much PhD as he was PhD. And unfortunately, he was killed before his first march of the Poor People's Campaign. And Ambassador Andrew Young said that they had succeeded in integrating the lunch counter, but had not integrated the dollar. I'm going to do a whole piece on the role of business and free enterprise in integrating the South that nobody knows, the history that nobody knows. I'll do that, I promise you, within a week. But Dr. King was pivoting, and Andrew Young, Ambassador Andrew Young today has a quote that basically says this: to live in a system of free enterprise and not to understand the rules of free enterprise must be the very definition of slavery. I'm going to repeat that. To live in a system of free enterprise and not to understand the rules of free enterprise must be the very definition of slavery. This is what we don't know that we don't know that's killing us, but we think we know. We never got the memo on free enterprise, capitalism, and money. So we spend a lot of our energy on drama and on negative stuff, and then we think that everything is fixed and it must be racism because I'm smart, so why am I not succeeding? And so I really have committed my life since I was a child to unpacking poverty, unpacking power, dismissing the poverty, replacing it with confidence and aspiration, and repacking power with poor people in mind, and expanding the system to work for more people. That's really what I've dedicated my life to. And so being here in Norway is bringing up all these emotions and these energies about Dr. King's last unfinished dream, and I think that you and I have a responsibility to finish that. So I hope this has been helpful. I'm going to go to some questions and then wrap this up so I don't wake up anybody in the house. Kyle Charles, I know this is off topic. I want your input on us as a whole being labeled African Americans, which has no descent, or black, which is okay, instead of Moors. Do you have any insights on that? Okay, that's a whole other conversation. Kyle, please allow me to do that at another time. That'll set off a whole nother conversation that lasts 10 or 15 minutes. Narset Wilkins, encountering in academia is a bunch of black people striving for higher degrees exclusively to enter into the middle class, which is fine, but no one seems to be set on acquiring skills at these institutions to go out and collectively build wealth. Okay, we're talking my language. I'm going to do a piece. I'm speaking at Black Enterprise Conference next week, on the Entrepreneurship Conference in Miami. When I get back in the States, I'm going to do a whole piece on this. Yes, we need to not to be talking about just going to get a job, but to create a job. That's why I keep harping on entrepreneurship and small business creation. All jobs in America comes from startups, shoot-ups, entrepreneurs, and small businesses years 3 through year 7. That's where all job growth comes from. So we're telling our children to go through school, K through 12, go get a job, and and graduate. Yes, please go graduate. Because the number one way to be poor is to drop out of high school, not go to college, and have kids before you're 18, before you're 18. That is an absolute prescription for being poor. Now, you can still succeed, and many people have, but everything's stacked against you. So we got to get you to get your education, get through high school. Your college degree, in many ways, is your new high school degree. You got to get a college education. But then we tell our kids, go get a bunch of college debt, which you probably shouldn't do, and then go work for a big company or government, neither of which are hiring. So what you probably should be doing is thinking about how you can become an entrepreneur, how you can become self-employed. Use those skills, right, that you got from business school or whatever to build your own community, build your own wealth. Because to quote Van Jones, the best way to stop a bullet is a job. The problem in our neighborhoods is there are no jobs, and then that just creates all other kind of problems. If we could solve the economic problem in our neighborhoods, the jobs problem in our neighborhoods, 80% of the other problems would go away, right? So yeah, it's a very good point. Ray joined in. Kyle, remember to cover my topic in the future. I will. Antonio, I look up to you. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Derek Cooper, you motivate me to be a better CEO. Continue to be a vessel for God's children. I'm a founder and CEO of LA City Wildcats for Youth Academy in Watts. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Shara Cobb, exactly how do we engage in free enterprise, especially when we are already poor? Don't let anybody tell you you're poor. There's a difference between being broke and being poor. Being broke is economic, but being poor is a disabling frame of mind and a depressed condition of your spirit, and you must vow never to be poor again. I'm going to print out a graph and bring it in one of my videos of what poverty is, and it's not what you think. Poverty has nothing to do with money. Half of poverty is low self-esteem and lack of confidence in yourself. That's half. If you don't know who you are by 9 in the morning, by dinner time, somebody's going to tell you who you are. And if I don't like me, I'm not going to like you. This is what I did in my last video. If I don't feel good about me, I'm not going to feel good about you. If I don't love me, I can't love you. And if I don't have a purpose in my life, I'll make your life a living hell. Whatever goes around comes around. So half of poverty is low self-esteem and lack of confidence in yourself. And you got crappy role models, a crappy environment. So if I hang around 9 broke people, I'll be the 10th, right? And then you got people who then have no hope. The most dangerous person in the world is no hope, and then they don't see opportunity anywhere. And so then you have what's basically what is called bias confirmation. So basically, you see racism. If you think everything's racist, you're going to see racism everywhere. If you think that the world is not fair, you're going to see unfairness everywhere. And so now you really are poor. But so poverty comes from here. It comes from the word capitas, which is knowledge in the head. Capital, capitas, Latin root word, knowledge in the head. So we got to banish the depression and banish the poverty in here first. Read the book How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, which I wrote, bestseller, one of 2 African-Americans who wrote a book on economics that's a bestseller. Read that book, and then let's come back and have the conversation about delivering the memo to people of color. Oscar Dalamini, sounds like from South Africa. That's a very famous name in South Africa. It's actually a royal name. Hala from South Africa, can you do a talk on empowerment in a third world country? I will do that. I promise you. I did a video on Africa, South Africa, that's got over 300,000 views, so go check that one out. Check that one out. Okay, I'm gonna go back. Argy Allen, yes, Jesus was definitely an extremist for love. I will carry this message with me tonight, working late on a project, and this gives me fuel. Thank you. Tanya, I work in the juvenile detention center and would love to have you speak at my facility. If I'm in your neighborhood and I'm available, I'll be glad to do it. Rachel Doff is my chief of staff. Sharmila Freeman is my executive assistant. Karen Anderson, C-A-R-Y-N, handles communication, so just send one of them a note. I think you were dead on point when you said that our political agenda should be directed at economic empowerment instead of social justice. But what troubles me is that what I'm an accountant. I think you didn't finish that comment. I'll go back and respond to that in comments, Narset. I also did a video on that, so people can go back and watch that. You should if you haven't already. Dion Minus from Wilboro, New Jersey, enjoying my first book, thank you. Sean Bradford's on board. Jerome, from the Washington metro area. DMV needs to have your workshop presented here. Okay, go see Ryan Max in Detroit. Omari Pearson runs the Mid-Atlantic area for Operation Hope in Washington, D.C. He'd be glad to bring the services to Washington, D.C. If you meant Washington, D.C., by the way, that was Jerome. Argy, love the T-shirt. In poverty, hello, let's make smart sexy again. That's what I'm talking about. We've been making dumb sexy for too long. I don't wear these T-shirts to, this is just the T-shirts I love to wear, but maybe we'll create a series on them and make them available at Operation Hope for a donation. Mia Bess, can you do a topic of single moms? Yes, I'm doing a whole series on women empowerment. There's one video I did already for women empowerment. I will do, I promise, another one on women empowerment this week. Mia, I promise you. Omar, Rashawn, hey John, I've really been enjoying these videos. I appreciate you, bro. I look forward to meeting you. Thank you very much. Angela from Piscataway, New Jersey, love what you're doing. Thank you. Ronald Confer, Chicago had those murders. I'm in the process of finally leaving here. No comment. I don't want to jam up Chicago, but yeah, there's problems all across America. George Gibson, hello, John Bryan. I had a chance to meet you at West Angeles Church. Was with Bishop Blake. I love that man. His personal aide, cool. We met at USC also. No, this is off topic. This is Juanita Ellis, but I'm drowning in student loans. Please help. Yeah, that's a serious problem. Student loan debt actually tops consumer debt now, more than $1 trillion in student loans. I'd encourage you to go to operationhope.org, find you a counselor in your area. The services are free. Our Hope Inside locations does credit counseling for free, can help you restructure a lot of that student loan debt. It's a very serious thing. It's positively distracting. I mean, some people have student loans so much it's more than their mortgage payment. So call my people and maybe they can help you. And try to see if you qualify for the earned income tax credit, because that could be as much as $12,000 coming to you for free. It's your money. You owe nobody. That can help you pay that student loan debt down. I'm going to wrap this up soon because I don't know how long I've been going, but I don't try to make these videos too long. But I'm trying to get through some of the questions. I'm going to do it. Would you guys like the idea of just doing a Q&A session? If I just do a Q&A session where there's no topic, but I just go back and forth with you guys. Once you put that in here and let me know whether you think that's a good idea. That would be a longer session, maybe 30 or 45 minutes, so I just stay online and just go back and forth with Q&A. Let me know whether you think that's good idea, or you want me to stay on topic with these specific messages of the videos in this series. The Straight Talk Civil Rights series is what this is called. Over 2.2 million views, by the way. Juanita Ellis. No, this is off topic, but I'm trying to get her. Good Chamo Mapis Shepkong. I love the T-shirt and the knowledge you're dropping. Thank you. Delvin, I'm inspired. Thank you. I get embarrassed. I read these comments, but when I think it's a compliment, it actually makes me a little uncomfortable. Michael Sawyer, loved the last video, tuning in from Lake Charles. That's the one I think I did yesterday, so I'm glad you liked that one. Talib Abdul Muhammad, you sound very low. Well, I'm being quiet because people are sleeping upstairs. It's halfway across the world. Bobby Watson, hey, you grew up on 35th Street. Hey, that's my hometown. where my office is in, I have an office in Chicago. Just go on operationhope.org. This is Ronald Confer, and my people will be glad to help you. Rich Paid Zell, love your work, brother. Thank you very much. I love you back. Okay, there's a lot of comments, and I don't want to keep everybody. Good evening from Jacksonville. Stefan Franchise, On Point Williamson. Cool. Traverse Little, thank you for taking the time out of your day to give us the bread for today. Thank you for feeling it's valuable. From Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Alfred Galloway. Don't forget about you. I never will. Okay, love you guys much. Let me see if anybody commented on whether they should do the Q&A. Drew Reddish, Q&A, you rock. Yes, I think that means yes. Yes, Odine Confron says yes, a Q&A would be great. Okay. Can somebody send me information? Yes. My email address is john.bryan@operationhope.org. That's my public email address, but it does get read. And you can also, all of my leaders at Operation Hope are empowered. So they're real people, and they do the work. And so find the person in your area, and they can be a bridge to me. Keep in mind, by the way, when you're feeling hopeless, that Dr. King had 70 employees. That's it. He had 70 full-time employees and a budget of $600,000, and he changed the world, and he did it without firing a shot. Isn't that cool? Okay, so I think we have more than 100 comments so far. This has been a good session. I'm going to wrap it up. I think like Michael says that the Q&A session would be good. It looks like people think that's a good idea. Jamie says it'd be a good idea, so I'll do that. Okay, love you guys. I'll answer the questions later. God bless you. Good night from Norway.